Like to call to order the meeting of the Personnel and Administration Committee for Thursday, January 9th, 2026 at 11 a.m. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderman Aldridge.
Present.
President Green.
Present.
3 present, you have quorum.
Quorum being present, I'll entertain a motion on the approval of the minutes from January 22nd, 2026.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
3 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the alderman from the 3rd. We will now go down to committee discussions, and I would entertain a motion that portions of the meeting of the Board of Aldermen's Personnel and Administration Committee be closed to the public under the provisions of 610.0213 in order to permit the members of the committee to discuss matters related to the hiring, firing, disciplining, or promoting of employees of the Board of Aldermen.
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice Chair Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
3 aye votes.
STLTB, if you could please place us in closed session. civil service job, civil service jobs, if there was something comparable that was in the pay study, to make that equivalent so we could have a better understanding of our pay structures at the Board of Aldermen. So I will turn that over to Director Ingracia.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the committee. You should all have a spreadsheet in front of you in your packet. The first column is the job title that Board of Aldermen staff have. If there's a salary range that's been indicated in previous job descriptions, that's listed. The actual salary of the individual who's in that role now. And then I worked with Owen Wolf, who's a senior HR specialist analyst with the Department of Personnel, who was incredibly helpful to compare and create a list of similar civil service jobs and their current minimum and maximum. And then if that job was studied or part of the 2025 pay study released in November, those minimum and maximums are there as well. I did highlight legislative researcher. That was something we were not able to find that was completely comparable. So we used the research analyst to the mayor. I just wanted to highlight that those positions typically do tend to make a significant amount more than civil service or other jobs in City Hall. And I'm happy to take questions.
Questions from members of the committee? Alderman Cone.
I'm still reviewing and digesting the information. I appreciate you putting this together and working with folks to kind of align where we can. But I don't have any questions at this time.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. And Alderman Aldridge stepped out. I don't have any questions at this time. It looks like, for most of our salaries, they are within the range of where they should be. There are a couple that are a little higher than civil service, but I think still lower than what we see in the mayor's office. And so I don't have any further questions at this time. I think this was good information. Let us digest it a little bit as we talk about salary increases going into the next budget cycle.
Right, and I will come back and present once we know what the Civil Service Commission has and the administration has in mind. It was my understanding next month was their goal in terms of determining what the raises were, but I will say that the pay study does indicate that they will be raising people's salaries or the roles' salaries if they are not at the current minimum, and they would not be changing salaries for anybody who's within the range or at the max.
Okay. Alderman Aldridge, did you have a question? No. Okay. Well, then with that, let's move to our last agenda item, which is the updating performance review messaging regarding LAs and alderpersons. I think we have a draft letter to go to the board on updating or just reminding people of the performance evaluation criteria, if you want to go through that.
Sure. So the email on the top is what was sent to alderpersons and legislative assistants last year concerning the performance reviews. I was asked to create an updated message to send out. I included also supervisory training, as that's something that's come up in this committee as it hasn't been a requirement in the past, just strongly encouraged. So this is more broad than what I was asked to do, so happy to take that out if we're not ready to do that at this time. But generally speaking, just wanted your feedback on the, what will happen if alderpersons do not conduct a performance review or possibly the supervisory training. There's a little comment on that note. And then just also wanted to note that if we decide to do the 360 performance review or a review process that's online, the hard copy paper, right now the staff has been doing the performance reviews in April, and the committee had asked that the alder people have them done by the fall. So we might need to decide on a time that's the same for
For
everyone.
everyone. Okay.
And I'm happy to take questions.
Alderman Cone?
Just in terms of the email, is there a way that we can get this electronically so we can make,
Sure. No, absolutely.
versus just opening, free thought here in committee. So if I could get an email version of that to, make any suggestions, that would be wonderful. I would agree that we should probably align on dates for all staff in terms of, and I think we've had this discussion in the past because I remember when I first joined the committee, we were doing staff performance assessments on the anniversary date versus having a consistent date with them. And that's always a challenge to make sure that you're, following through on that on a regular annual basis versus when there's a set date, then everyone is supposed to be doing them at the same time, and you can have a greater compliance rate with that. But I think that the next logical step would be to try and align everyone at the board onto the same date, which would be wonderful. So are we going to have that discussion now, or do we want to just think about that and come back? Or
I would say we go ahead and do that now. I think it makes sense probably during our summer recess to,
You had brought that up before, and there was a hesitancy because it's really difficult to get people to respond sometimes during the summer, and so that's why the fall was chosen for electeds. I do think it makes sense. Probably it was the former clerk's position that he wanted the staff performance reviews done in April. I don't think we need to be concerned about that the way we were last time, so it could make sense. I think also, if you're a newly elected official who hasn't been here before, you will come in April, you will hire your LSA. It may make more sense for that to be a October project.
yeah, I would agree with that, beginning in September.
also, if for whatever reason we end up, tying a merit to a performance review, then, doing it after we go through our budget process isn't necessarily helpful.
Right.
It would prepare us for January.
Great. Yeah, so I would lean more towards a end of year / new year cycle, something in, October, or do it in January, February.
I think January might be too late if you're interested in the budget, because the budget, although we don't start having actual meetings about it until maybe February or March, those decisions are being made in January.
Yeah. I think
I'm
the
just
fall.
thinking, kind of piggybacking off of what you said earlier, if someone's elected in April, then October would be 6 months from there, and they may not even have their legislative assistant hired, depending upon, their process and what they're able to do. But I would be fine with an October date for everyone.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, any thoughts? October. Alderman Aldridge? Then I would entertain a motion that we make employee evaluations going forward begin in October.
Do we need to give any consideration to people who are on a different date right now? So would they?
I mean, everyone on staff had their evaluations done for last year in April. So this would just push it out a couple months. And so there's nobody on that staggered system. Everybody that was here in April, their evaluations were done in April.
So they would just get a review for basically a year and a half versus a
Right.
year. Okay, that's fine. So I move that we update our performance review time period to reflect for all staff of the Board of Aldermen a review period starting in October. We want to do October 1st.
October 1st.
October 1st, annually.
Is there a second?
I'm sorry, Alderman Cone, I didn't hear that date.
October 1st, annually. It's on.
It's been moved by the Alderman. Oh, it's very loud. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 3rd, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th, that we, going forward, have all employee evaluations begin October 1st each year. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The only other feedback I would give on the letter is I think we should do an acknowledgement that there have been a number of older people that have participated in the supervisory training for older persons. And I think that it's probably helpful to maybe outline some of the reasons for supervisory training, making sure that folks understand the, the laws and the processes around the, everything from the employee handbook to, the do's and don'ts of supervising staff under, city and state and federal laws, so that it's not just go to this training. There's I think, more comprehensive understanding of the importance of that training and the reason we're asking folks to go through it. Are there any other comments from members of the board on that? If not, if you want to incorporate that feedback, Alderwoman Boyd.
Thank you, Madam President. This was very interesting. But I guess, when you assume things, you know what that means. But I thought everybody understood who we were under and what we did. So on those evaluations, has anybody looked at those evaluations?
Yes, those evaluations are filed with the clerk, and the Personnel Committee of the Board of Aldermen review them. Last year, not every alderperson provided evaluations of their legislative assistant, but we did have evaluations of all non-legislative staff members across the board.
And
No,
Alderwoman,
the reason why I was asking because a blank evaluation, because I had was filling it out, but the struggle was it was a lot of questions or that were asked. I'll just follow up. I'll talk to Alderman Cone and talk to him to walk through that evaluation because it was just kind of cumbersome to me, the evaluation, how it was worded and what questions were asked.
Yeah, and I think this committee understands that too, and so we're looking at for the next round to update it to something that is called a 360 review process that would be online or electronic, that could maybe simplify it a little bit more than what was done this last year.
Yeah, because some of the stuff, I mean, it really wasn't pertaining to my LA, but I was trying to put it in that space. And so it did in detail a lot of writing, and I'm guilty because I still have it sitting on my computer because it was like, okay, how am I answering this? This isn't really what he does, but I'm gonna have to add what he does to make sure that it's covered in regards to the evaluation. And that's why I was asking the questions.
Yeah, and we're happy to work with you kind of offline on refining some of those questions as we go into the process next year. Employee evaluations are this year. Oh, it's 2026. Yes, when we go into it this year, we're happy to take in that feedback as this is something that's still kind of new to the Board of Aldermen.
Okay, thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you. Any further discussion?
I just had one more quick item to report back.
Sure, not Alderwoman, Director Ingracia. Called you Alderwoman for 10 years, so it's going to slip sometime.
You can call me whatever you want, Madam President. Just wanted to report back, the committee asked about looking at legislative assistance, PTO, both vacation and medical time. I need to get some additional information, but for 2025, 2 legislative assistants turned in vacation and medical. The remainder of the legislative assistants did not take any time off in the system for 2025. We have access through our clerk to 2025 only, and so I've asked to get that information for 2023 and 2024 to the folks to whom it's applicable. And I will have that additional information for you soon.
Okay. We can review that at a upcoming meeting. Any other items for discussion? The announcements from members of the committee? All members are present, so at this time I would entertain a adjourn.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 3rd, seconded by the alderwoman from the 10th, that we adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.